This is a clip from the Red Cow Arcade podcast.
That's the topic. Bailing out. When do you bail out? So we got one of these kind of typical comments that we sometimes get. How come I don't have Boxmac on the same schedule that I used to have it on? That sort of thing. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm triggered by this kind of thing. And, because we were there, we had some on fire years there prior to kids, and even when our kids were infants, where it was just a content deluge, and comparing those stats to today's stats, it's like, we committing as hard as we did was really fun to that particular content for that amount of time, but it didn't really make the most business sense. It doesn't always, sometimes like really committing to one thing is a really good idea, and other times it kind of like traps you. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about a little bit was, and of course this relates to Mr. Rolf and stuff, but so Nina, she's not like me in this way. I wouldn't characterize her as a quitter, not at all. But she says that she really loves quitting. She loves bailing. She loves the freedom, the liberty that you feel when like something was scheduled and you just, for Saturday, and like Friday night you call and you go like, I'm not coming.
Yeah, I think that gives me a little anxiety.
It gives me anxiety. It makes me more feel like, no, I said I was coming and I'm coming. Like,
yeah, I'm very much like that. Like I get relief when I've completed the task and put in the work. We're
the same in that way.
It's like graduation day where you did all the work to get there.
Nobody can take it from you. Nobody can say this. Yeah, totally. And of course, I've been on the receiving end of somebody who bails on you, and you're just like,
yes.
How could you do that? I remember that we had that one 4th of July shoot that one year. It was the 2017 one where we had like 3 people that just all bailed on the same day. It was like, where the fuck
that
is
was crazy.
going?
It was an avalanche of bailing.
Yeah, just. And you start to realize like they never meant to come. They really said that they would, and always in the back of their mind they figured like, well, there'll be enough people there. It's fine,
It's like, and some of them didn't even do the Nina call where they called the previous day.
Then you start texting them, being like, "So we'd like to start shooting. Are you coming?" And they're like, "Oh, where is it again?"
No,
but there have been times in my life where, So normally my instinct is to see it through, no matter what. But there have been times in my life where I've like really sat with it, and I've really been like, why wouldn't I quit? This is the right time to quit, man. And I think that can be just as healthy, frankly.
Yeah, I think it is. There is like the sunk cost fallacy or whatever. Where
exactly. Or you had it recently with like you had 2 jobs and they had pros and cons, and you kind of like ultimately. You almost had to like take a day off for yourself and think about it and be like, I'm going to do the thing that makes sense for me.
Yeah, no, it is like, yeah, that was probably one of the hardest decisions ever, because it's just like, it's like you said, you don't want to like let people down,
Right.
You don't want to, especially when you're doing good productive work.
Right.
But sometimes you just gotta do it, and you gotta just look yourself in the mirror and do it.
Well, for some people it comes very easily. For us, it doesn't. But it's so foolish it sticks with me. But I remember when I played Little League basketball, I played from 3rd grade to what was supposed to have been 8th grade. And then if you get past 8th grade, you're in high school now and you go on to do, non-Little League or something. And it was I didn't like basketball. I wasn't good at it. And I had no intention, it also eats up your whole evenings. Like you're like playing games on the weekends and stuff. And like, I'm losing games and, like, fuck this,
yeah.
Better things to do with my life. It was also like back then in the 90s, like if you're, small, non-athletic kid like me, you get bullied, people treating me unwell. And
I was very unathletic. So the only sport that I was like medium at was swimming. So my dad would sign me up for soccer, baseball, everything.
Yeah.
And I was horrible at everything. It was embarrassing. Like it didn't matter how much I practiced. It was just like I couldn't even get to a medium level with most sports.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but it was hard because my dad never wanted me to quit. So it's like every time I had to broach the subject of quitting a sport, it was just like this whole ordeal.
It was like that for me too. I think their principle on it was like, if you signed up, you got to see the season through. And then like between seasons, you can make a decision to pull out. But like if you signed, like there's certainly no quitting the team. You're on the team, which is I think a very good lesson. I would probably teach Gloria the exact same lesson. It was like, you've joined a team now. That's a different thing than deciding not to do it next year, But there was this stupid carrot being dangled in front of me. It's so dumb looking back on it, but it was like, if you the kids who went from 3rd grade to 8th grade got this specialty Westport basketball jacket. It meant like you didn't quit. It was like the "you didn't quit" jacket.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah, and I was like, I want a "you didn't quit" jacket. Like it felt like the one thing that like I could get out of the whole thing. It was like, well, I suck and I'll never play basketball again, but I didn't quit,
That reminds me of so my grandfather, Edmund James Massa the first, senior, he got an award for perfect attendance. He never missed a day of school in his life.
Yeah,
like
wow.
That all probably even through college, because he just was that kind of person. And I was thinking like rewarding perfect attendance nowadays in like COVID times. I'm like, that probably they probably got away with those awards, right?
Edmund Massa, you are a super spreader. Please have the jacket.
It's like now they're like, if you're sick, just stay home. It's like I don't think that's a valued concept nowadays.
It's funny because we're living in a culture of 24 hours. You can't escape your email. Europe has laws about the boss can't email you after 5 and shit. Like we don't have that here.
No.
And so like, and it still is a virtue to overwork, and yet the culture kind of knows that we've gone too far for that, and they're overcorrecting for it. So I've noticed that all the conventional wisdom now seems, all the advice like if one day I'm feeling bummed about my job or about the content or something, I better not say it out loud, because the only advice I receive is, well, why don't you just upend your entire life and chase whatever whimsy, if you're unhappy with this situation right now, just as it is, just upend it, destroy it, blow it up, and do something opposite from it. And that's virtue. I'm like, no, that's not it either.
It's an extreme.
But I remember I was like, I just got to get the jacket. And I think my mom fed into that too. She was like, "Well, you're gonna get that jacket."
Yeah, well, that's a nice thing. You get the jacket,
And
you're gonna be somebody.
I think by the time I was in 7th grade, I only had one more year. All I had to do was one more year, and I'd have it. And I was like, I don't want to play basketball anymore. And I bailed, and it felt really good. And I was, because like this stupid thing about the jacket that was held over my head, I was like, oh, I don't even give a fuck about that. It hadn't occurred to me yet that I didn't care about the jacket in the first place. And it felt really good. It was really liberating. And I did the same thing with track, actually, where I was in track for the first couple of years of high school, and I had been in track in middle school too. So I did like 4 years of it. And by the time I got to my junior year, I was making my movie. I had my girlfriend, and I was like, to join the track team means that you're running every day from like 2 to 5:30. You got to get a ride home, and then there's meets, and the meets go to, all over the, Bristol County area. And so that's like long days. And I just realized there was like this giant opportunity cost with the whole thing. And I wanted to make a movie instead. And so that was a really easy decision, where I think it's really easy to quit when you're like, because if I don't quit, then I'm kind of passively quitting this other thing that I want to be doing.
Yeah.
There's an opportunity.
Not succeeding on something else. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe that's a good way to, I think quitting just to then do nothing is something worth examining. But if there's something else lined up, and I thought, I was thinking about all this because aside from the box mac question, which was, how come you don't make box macs as often anymore? And I was like, well, because you can only work on one project at a time. And often we choose to work on a different project. We're always working on a project. And sometimes it's RIP, and sometimes it's Pewtersmith, and sometimes it's, a special or whatever. At this exact moment, it happens to be a Box Mac. But yeah, it's an opportunity cost question. And I was when I was thinking about bailing, I was thinking about that hilarious JonTron episode, Kid Nation.
Oh yeah.
There was this, for those who didn't see it, there was this reality show in like the late 2000s called Kid Nation. It was when reality show TV was just like this one-upsmanship thing of like, how exploitative can we make reality TV? And I don't know, I think they probably did it during the writer's strike too, when they were looking for ideas. And some psycho came up with an idea of like, well, what if it was Lord of the Flies? The reality show, it'll just be kids and they got to survive. And let's see if they kill each other. And then there's a question of like, well, how moderated is it? Because it is minors. And my guess is that the behind the scenes people were trying to moderate it as little as possible, knowing that that's something that could ruin the show, but they still had to moderate it to some degree. But there's this moment so JonTron, YouTube personality, he reviewed it. And there's this moment where he's like reacting to the video and making jokes throughout it as he does, like his format. And they go, it's that typical reality show beat where there's the kind of bassy music and it's like the decision making time, and it's like, does anyone here want to leave on like day one? And this little 8-year-old boy, this cute little 8-year-old boy goes. It's the way his hand shot up. And JonTron made fun of it. It just made me tear up laughing so hard. And then again, it's like you're surrounded by media and TV personalities, and everybody's lost their soul. And everybody forgot what they're even doing. And the kid goes, he just says the most emotionally honest thing that anybody in the room has said all day. She goes, I am way too young for this. And then and he's like, so one more time, Jim, do you want to leave? And the kid goes, yep. He's never been more certain. The show wanted to milk a little bit of like, do I, don't I? And the kid's like, I'm out. He's like, I've been waiting for you to ask.
That's great. That's probably one of the best JonTrons right there.
He did the KFC one recently. It was also very funny.
Oh yeah.
Eating.
That was bizarre, like conspiracy theories and stuff.
So sometimes you got to bail. I don't like it. It never feels good to bail for me, or rarely does it feel good to bail. But it's sometimes you got. They were talking about that in church a little bit, like this concept of like, if you're going to remake yourself, or you're going to make a huge change in your life, you're going to decide to lose a ton of weight, or you're going to just, whatever. Like, so he's like, the pastor was saying, like, you ever like need to move something huge in your house and you have to take like 2 days off from work to do it? He's like, sometimes like in life you need to be like, wait, like stop. Is it time to quit? Or is it time to make a big change? And I like that. So that's of course, everybody who asked this question about Box Mac was very nice about it and seemed to understand it. But do they want us to suffer? That's the question. And it brings up all this, do I feel guilty making fun of Mr. Rolfe for all of his no time, too busy, my kids, etc. And it's like, well, yeah, because I, with the exception of tripods on these things, I connect with almost everything he's saying. There is a major difference. It's not anything small. This is not my job. This is not.
It's true.
I squeeze this into my life.
This is like the most important thing. We both have full-time jobs.
Yeah, and they're not like they ain't part-time jobs. They're real ass jobs.
There are careers.
Yeah, like the times
that feed our families.
The times we can work on Red Cow, and Red Cow remains this I still think a pretty high output. It's 2 fucking channels, people. You don't miss out on too much Frankie and EJ in a given week.
No, you got enough.
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.